The reception room of the 7th Imperial Consort. Camellia looked at the green leaves one by one in the forest-like space. The green leaves, big and small, were a mixture of herbs and plants that she knew well. Each of them was useful, and if combined together. Camellia looked at the woman in front of her with troubled eyes, gazing at the back that was turned toward her. In a moment of confusion and internal conflict, Camellia took a step toward the woman, and a rustling sound came from her pocket. The letter she had received from her precious child a few days ago was buried deep inside. Then she called out to the other child she had raised, Ira, who was now a grown woman. Your Highness the Imperial Consort. Nanny, this is an herb that helps you sleep well. This one is good for headaches. Aren't their leaves truly beautiful? Oh, and this is an herb that improves memory. Ira turned around and spoke as if showing off, pointing to each herb. It has been brought into the Imperial Palace, so there is nothing dangerous about it. Yes. Ira smiled with sparkling eyes. I'm so glad my nanny came to visit me like this. I am also happy to see your Highness. It was difficult to make contact since this is the Imperial Palace. Indeed. How many years has it been since I last saw you, Nanny? As the two people looked at each other, recalling old memories, the living room door opened. Oh my, Your Majesty has arrived. When the Emperor entered, Ira greeted him with a bright smile. What's going on here? Pardon? Is there something good happening? The Emperor sat down and asked Ira. Yes. There is someone I would like to introduce. Doubt appeared in the Emperor's eyes. My nanny. At Ira's invitation, the middle-aged woman behind her quietly bowed her head politely. Camellia of Baron Shadow greets His Majesty the Emperor. The Emperor calmly studied the middle-aged woman with her head lowered. This is the nanny who took care of me when I was young. I would like her to be my lady-in-waiting. Ira said with an excited expression. You want me to make her your lady-in-waiting? The Emperor asked with a pleased expression. Since she was his favorite consort, women from powerful families had volunteered to serve her. However, none of them lasted more than 2 days before leaving. Though she kept maids who did household chores in her palace, she rejected all the ladies-in-waiting who would have attended her personally. The Emperor couldn't help but feel anxious about her, who always seemed as though she might leave at any moment. But she was asking for a lady-in-waiting herself. Had the Imperial Palace finally become as comfortable as a home to her? Raise your head. Yes. The middle-aged woman named Camellia raised her head. She had ordinary brown eyes and an unremarkable appearance, utterly forgettable. You will have to take good care of the 7th Imperial Consort. Yes. The Emperor smiled softly and gave the butler a meaningful look. No one could simply be allowed into the Imperial Palace. That meant a thorough investigation into the Shadow family would be required. The butler acknowledged with a silent bow. Romus, whose wrists were tied behind his back and whose eyes were covered, sat on the floor, curled up. He didn't know how many days he had been trapped here. Fortunately, he received bread twice a day, as if they had no intention of starving him. How had this happened? He had merely taken money from an information dealer and told him about the Duke's fiancée. It was a normal thing, just talk. And for this damned money? At that moment, he heard the sound of an old wooden door opening. Romus leaned against the wall, trembling with fear and dread, unable to anticipate what was coming. Are you Romus? He quickly bowed his head and responded to the young man's voice, not like the voice of the adults who had been watching him. Yes, that's correct. Tell me in detail what you saw. Romus talked about why he was here, the Duke of the West's fiancé. He had said it dozens of times, so it came out quickly. Do you believe it's true that she communicates with monsters? Yes. She just said calm down, and the monster's fangs retracted. The villagers saw it too. Can you testify to this before His Majesty? His Majesty? The Emperor? Would he say this directly to the emperor? Romus swallowed hard when he realized, or suspected, the identity of the powerful person who had arrested and dragged him here. Yes. Of course I can. By the way, if I testify, will you let me go? Certainly. Then I'll testify right away. It's not time yet, so wait. Yes, yes. Understood. Romus responded happily at the thought that he might finally live. Smith pushed the wooden door closed and looked at his assistant. It seems to be true. Yes. I also contacted the villagers, and they all told the same story. Good. What about the other matter I ordered? Smith asked his assistant as they headed toward the carriage. I haven't found it yet. You're progressing too slowly. Don't you know this should be your top priority? Smith's sharp eyes narrowed. The assistant hurriedly lowered his head. I will do my best. I'm tired of the capital, so resolve it quickly. Yes. And in the Emperor's office. Gerard walked inside with an indifferent expression. Duke of the West, welcome. The Emperor received him warmly with a smile on his face. Vines greets your Majesty, Emperor of the Empire. So, was the road to the capital safe? Yes. Of course. Now that the Western Shield has opened his eyes, who would dare stand in his way? Am I right? Ha ha ha. The Emperor laughed heartily, as if in good spirits. Congratulations on regaining your sight. But your eyes were black before, and now their color has changed. The Emperor's golden eyes continuously studied the Duke's gray eyes. It's a side effect of the medication. Is that so? TSK. What a shame. It's fine. The Emperor's smile didn't falter despite Gerard's curt response. But I believe your fiancé was invited as well? My fiancé wasn't feeling well, so I had no choice but to come alone. My apologies. Gerard lied shamelessly, without any hesitation or tension on his face. Is that so? The Emperor's smiling face hardened slightly. Just the day before, it had been reported that the Duke's fiancée had attended the Marquis's tea party. She accepted the invitation of a mere Marquis's daughter, yet dared to refuse the Emperor's invitation? Was this the Duke's doing? Or was it his fiancée's choice? I hope she recovers soon. Thank you. Gerard answered curtly. Then how about visiting again with your fiancée in 2 days? I will specially invite you both to dinner. She has such a high fever that I don't believe she'll be able to rise in 2 days. The Emperor leaned back in his chair with a cold expression. Duke of the West, who is your master? Your Majesty is the Emperor of the Empire. Correct. I am the Emperor of this empire. Yet you refuse my invitation? Gerard looked at the Emperor with calm eyes. My fiancée is merely an ordinary viscountess. She is not someone your Majesty would have interest in. What? Are you presuming to tell me what to do now? The Emperor struck the armrest of his chair. When Gerard observed this, a strange look appeared in his eyes. Though he might be manipulating things behind the scenes, he was not the type to lose his temper so quickly. The Emperor was seen closing his eyes tightly as if suffering from a headache. The butler saw this and quickly stepped forward, his face strangely tense. His Majesty seems very tired, so I believe it would be best for you to take your leave today. The moment Gerard's puzzled gaze fell on the butler, the Emperor opened his eyes. He wore a pleasant smile on his face. Duke of the West, it has been a long time. How wonderful it is to see you like this again. The butler closed his eyes tightly. Gerard looked at the Emperor with an expressionless face. What kind of trick is this? But I believe your fiancé was invited as well? Gerard's sharp gaze briefly touched the butler, then he lowered his head. My fiancé is unwell from the long carriage ride, so I came alone. Well, why don't we schedule another day and visit together? If she feels better, I will do so. Gerard hesitated but answered differently than before in order to placate the emperor. Of course, no one knew when Marin, who was merely feigning illness, would recover.